You caught me with my drink on.
Oh, it's freezing.
What's freezing?
The screen's freezing on my screen, but it's not freezing.
Not freezing to me.
Really? It's freezing. See, that completely was frozen for me. Did it play?
No. Yeah, it plays the whole thing.
That's very weird. It's going to be annoying.
The countdown played.
All froze for me, so I stopped it. Okay.
I thought you were just trying to catch me taking a swig of my energy drink.
Not at all. That's weird. Round 2. Hey, I am Pram. I am Pram is getting his channel started or is started. So that.
Yeah. Go follow him. Great information on being an agorist.
Sightings Sojo. That's not 7. That's Paul McCartney, isn't it? It isn't so.
Don't sing, you'll get dinged.
No. Yeah, that rhymes. So? We should make a song for that for YouTube. Don't sing. Don't sing or you'll get dinged.
Yeah. Don't do anything on YouTube because you'll get dinged. Yeah.
So with all the speaking of getting dinged, with all the Satanist stuff been going on with the Grammys and just all the stuff coming out, I just wanted to say, to hell with the devil. I made that clip, so I can just put it in there whenever I want. All right, and they have funky music you can just put in.
I know.
Yeah.
I tried playing, so I tried having music playing on the happy hour the other day, just like really soft in the background, because I noticed it on a couple of like TV shows that I watch that I wasn't even aware that there's always like background music through the whole thing, even though I'm like, I didn't realize they had music playing through that whole thing. And so I tried it, but it distracted Westwood so bad. He's like, oh, is there music somewhere?
You can turn it down, too.
I thought I did. I thought I had it turned down really low, but it was loud.
This is Night Driving.
Night Driving.
It reminds me of the theme from Taxi. Remember, Taxi?
I do know the show, but I don't know that I actually watched it.
That song slaps. There's just rock.
So they all sound like, when you go to like a Mexican resort and they play.
It's the most first world thing you've ever said. When you go to like a Mexican resort, right? And like.
It's true. And they play like a virgin, but it's like the disco version of it. It's the free version audio. And that's what those all sound like.
This is Feeding the Ducks.
Okay, you're boring the folks. Let's move on.
Sorry.
Lord, you're going to get your channel dinged.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Like a bar in Mexico. Thank you. I am. True. He agrees with me. It's some truth on Tuesday. Got to tell you.
Lyrics, hey teacher, leave those kids alone. We don't need no thought control. I was thinking when I was how old was I when that song came out? I remember
you were about in 3rd or 4th grade.
It's weird that you knew that quicker than I did.
Because I got in trouble for that song.
I think I was in.
It's another song I got in trouble for.
I remember being in the James Way. I know it was after Space Invaders came out because they had Space Invaders, but I was me and my mom were in line, and I remember being so offended at the song And I was
Oh,
like,
I loved it.
why are they playing this song? This is telling people they don't need an education. Mom, people need an education. This should not be playing in this store. Kids are listening to this and they're going to think they don't need an education. I was so offended.
I thought it was the Dogs of Hazard in the classroom, though.
Why wouldn't you think the Dukes?
I don't know. I
Oh,
thought
the
it was
Dukes.
the Dogs of Hazard in the classroom.
The
Teacher
Dukes of
made those
Hazard is
kids one.
so funny because, but not for you because you lived here, right? Imagine being a kid, an impressionable kid growing up in the North. If Public was here, he could back me up on this. And seeing things like Smokey and the Bandit, the Dukes of Hazard, I literally thought you people had no laws. I thought you had laws, right? But if you got away from the police, then you won. You didn't get in trouble.
If you got across the county line,
With that
you
thing, yeah,
did.
oh, you got out of the town or the county
Yeah,
line.
you got across the county line.
I remember we learned what all the counties in New Jersey, most of them end with sex. Very funny when you're in the second grade. No, third grade. It was hilarious. Summer sex, Sussex, middle sex, sex in the middle.
Oh
I
my
mean middle sex.
gosh.
Oh my god, it was so hilarious. But like we didn't really care about counties as kids, but then you watch Dukes of Hazzard, it's like, oh man, you can go commit crimes right here. If you get like half a mile away, the
And you
police
stand
leave you
right on the
alone.
county line, you can like
Yeah,
jingle your car keys at them.
and I'm like,
They
all
can't
like
come get you.
they would get away from Roscoe, and they
Yeah.
just went home.
Roscoe Pico.
And I'm like, here,
Mhm.
if you get away from the police, they will come to your house and get you. Not like that in the South. And then Smokey and the Bandit, same thing. It's like they're not allowed to have Coors beer, which we weren't allowed to have Coors beer. We didn't really have Coors beer when I was a kid. It was up north.
It's Coors.
Yeah, it was a Coors beer.
Yes. Coors.
Yeah,
Not Coors.
Coors. Coors.
Coors.
My
I said
favorite
it's
beer now.
Coors
People
beer,
always
not
tease me
Coors.
because I drink Coors Light.
It's not Coors. It's Coors.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to say hello. Have to rewatch both parts later tonight. Yes, you do, because you're having dinner with the wife now. Tell your wife said hey.
Oh, good. Yeah. Everyone.
Remember
Happy
76?
Valentine's Day.
All the Americanness, the bicentennial. It was such a thing. We are nuts.
I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Actually, your
They don't pop.
sleeves don't have them, but yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Oh no, that's your arm. Your sleeve is just down here.
What?
Your
This is my sleeve.
is just right here.
Okay. Well, they
No,
have
you're
them too.
kind of right too. Yeah, you're right too. You're right on that.
You're gonna fight me on
Eastbound and
Valentine's
down,
Day.
loaded up and trucking. Yeah.
Okay. I
Song.
want to hear what you have on the balloons. Let's move along.
Well, since
Information,
you
please.
got your hands nicely, I guess I'll do that.
I want information.
I
I'm
want
jonesing.
information.
I've been at school all
Information.
day talking about adjectival clauses.
I have notes. Remember what that's from? I want information. It's from the show The Prisoner. Very trippy show. Love that show. And also, Iron Maiden did a song called The Prisoner. All right.
More information I don't want.
Here we go. You should want that. The Prisoner is awesome. You should
No.
watch it.
No.
It's very weird, especially if you watch it now. Okay, so China, first off, with the balloon thing, they said it was a mistake. No. First, they said it wasn't their balloon. And they said it never happened. Also, things in China are very different than here.
Didn't they say it was a private person's balloon?
We'll get to
It
that.
wasn't theirs. Okay.
That's part of the big picture.
Mhm.
So first they said that it wasn't theirs. Then they said it was the U.S. that did it as like a psyop to make them look bad and to beat the drums of war and their big war machine going and all that. Which I mean, maybe.
Or they could just all they had to do is say, "Hey, look what they're doing to the Uyghurs." You could just do that
They're not our leaders.
instead.
So, but now
they're
they
just
could just
someone
put a balloon up. They could put a
human
balloon
race.
up. They could do whatever and actually do that, and
Mhm.
it would be much easier. But it's a mistake. Then they said it didn't exist. Then they said it was a research balloon, and then it was put
Mhm.
up by a private company. Now the thing about private companies is there's no private companies in China. The Communist Party, it's communism. So they have a hand in all of it. Um, we in the crypto community saw that with Tron when old Justin was getting a little too big for his britches, and they gave him a smackdown. I don't know if y'all remember
Yeah.
that.
So one thing I learned, because I'm learning all this stuff about IP with working with Veritasium DAO and all that in China and in South Korea, North Korea, I'm sorry. They're in any of these communist countries,
Mm,
they own the IP. If you are if you live there and you create something,
yeah,
you don't own it.
right. All
It's the
companies, same thing.
supreme leader's
Yeah, they
property.
it's like this.
They own your mind.
It's there's a word for it, but it's like military, civilian military fusion. So what they call it, which is
Mm,
what I'm going to talk about that. And there's
okay, cool.
uh, Lao Y86 talks about it in the video. I took an excerpt from it. We'll play that. But
Okay, great.
so it's just a research balloon owned by a civilian company, but there are no real civilian companies. And now they're scrubbing everything on the internet when it has to come to it. So you can't really find anything about it on the Chinese internet. So all the Chinese people, and we have to remember that we
And
have
they disappear
so
people.
much
Remember
more.
how they
Yeah,
disappeared? You showed everybody how they disappeared the people that were
right.
protesting with the white
Yeah.
papers.
Well,
They
they have a
disappeared them. Well, now they're
it's called a
disappearing this.
Operation like something Tiger, where it's a standing government operation to constantly pick up people that left China, dissidents, people that talk shit about China, to grab them and then make them disappear or take them to China for go to prison, go to a work camp. So now all the stuff that they're talking about is look at how weak the United States is. They couldn't even shoot down a balloon, you
Mm.
know. Or China shot down a balloon from Russia like decades ago. Um, they were talking about how great their military is. They do have a very huge military. They have a pretty advanced military, but all of the money that they get is from us. Is from us and our allies. Um, so I made the point like last show or show before. If we were to go to China, they have literally months to win. If that long, because all their money stops. Everything that they get would stop. The United States would not give them any more money. All of our allies wouldn't give them any more money. And also, any of their enemies are going to amp up. Like India, you better believe India is going to be taking on a lot of the workload of China, and they're going to increase their. They're already enemies. They already kill each other. They have a demilitarized zone where they kill each other all the time, but they're not allowed to have weapons in the demilitarized zone. So they just beat each other to death with rocks and rebar and sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's constant. So I think that'll turn up when if we go to war with China and then India knows that the United States and NATO and all these allies have their back. China's gonna be hit from all sides. They're gonna crumble. Um, but anyway, so we talked a little bit about balloons on Lisa's channel in the beginning of the show, and I talked about how they've been used for since the United States first started uh, in warfare, um, with blimps as well as regular, hot air balloons, um, and how the United States mainland, which people say, and we learned this in school, and then I had a couple of teachers who were like, well, actually, and this is before Google, before you could look stuff up and find stuff. They actually had to like tell us because it wasn't in our school books. They had to bring in stuff to show us and to talk about how the United States has been attacked mainland by I think it was Japan and the Nazis, um, just with hot air balloons and zeppelins that came in through Canada, that way, and then dropped, but they never did any real damage because they're very hard to, especially back then, the technology wasn't great as far as targeting and controlling them. But they did cross the border and they did hit our dirt. Um, so that has happened. But this is the scary thing, and I talked about this over on your channel. How everyone seemed to be talking about seeing the balloon, like look up. Saturday Night Live made a bunch of jokes about it. People were talking about it, and then this snotty ass general in a press conference. I wanted to have an excerpt of it, but this reporter said, "Don't you think the American people have the right to know about this?" And he said, "I think the American people have the right to look up, and they can do that wherever they want." Because they were saying, "Where's the balloon now? What's going on now? Where's it moving to?"
Yeah, and they weren't giving reports of it.
I'm not telling you anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't you think the American people have the right to know if it's coming to their area or if it's going to move, close to them?" And he's like, "They got the right to look up. If they see it, they know it's there." So look up and see something. I remember, and I talked about this with and we were talking about all the crazy weather and stuff and natural disasters, and how I've always said that the weather is controlled. It's easily controllable because as a kid being into sci-fi, there's lots of scientists were asked from the 50s on if they could control the weather. And scientists always said, "Oh, it's very easy to control the weather if we had these like crazy sci-fi technology, like satellites in space, or these things that are called lasers that can shoot a supercharged and heated particle beam. If we had these crazy sci-fi inventions, then yeah, we could control the weather. But we're not going to have technology like that in this, in the probably not the 21st century." Voila, we do. So when they said that we could easily do it with that, then I would say now we have all that. So now it's easily controlled. And, oh no, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh no, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And then China comes out and like, oh yeah, we've been controlling the weather for years. Middle East, it's like, yeah, we're controlling the weather. We make it rain in Dubai, once a week with cloud seeding. So just use common sense and use your head. So I remember, and I tried to but speaking of technology, there's a blocking thing where I can't record movies that I own or TV shows that I own on Vudu, which annoys me. But there are these stealth suits that they use on Babylon 5. And the idea is they bend the light. And it's a real technology that you may have seen like videos. If you've looked into it, it's real. Like you can literally be invisible. And now it's not like protected technology anymore. Like back in the 90s, that was secret technology. Now there's videos to show you how to build an invisibility panel.
Yeah, I was gonna say blanket or screen. Yeah.
With trash, with for free. With stuff you can find for free. So this, and I have a couple videos just to show you here what it was, where it's at. All right, look at this one. Is it playing? I can't see it.
Yes, it's playing.
Okay. Okay, now it's playing. I can see it. All right.
Yeah. Which Public and I have been talking about these for several years, but there's actually like fighter jets on the lawn at the White House, at least when Trump was
there. Yes, you can see this, right? It's like
that
insane.
Yeah.
This is insane.
Oh, hello. Can you see me right now? I think not. I'm right here behind this very bench, and yet you see nothing. How? The world's first publicly available invisibility shield, that's how. Yes. Do you want to harness the power of invisibility? Do you want to act and look just like A bespectacled British boy teen wizard with an accent. Well, first you're going to have to learn about the science of this thing. That's my...
So,
very interesting.
you can see the level that we're at. How it's that's what dorks can make in their garage. So you can imagine the level of military grade. Definitely planes. So the story of the scary thing is, how hard would it be to make a balloon where you can't look up and see it? That would be the easy. I think you could do that with like 30-year-old technology and just make it, basic camouflage. Make it look like a cloud.
Well, and don't they say that the military has technology that's at least 30 or 40 years ahead of what we currently are using?
Yeah, it's usually like 20 or 30 years. It's becoming like closer and closer. It used to be like 40, then it was like 30, and now, it's like 20 years. But still, imagine 20 years.
Well, because I've been noticing, so we're
20 years ago,
by
we didn't have smartphones.
right.
We had like flip phones and we had cell phones, but we didn't have all the stuff that we have now.
Right. I think about like lately in the last, since the Great Infection, where I live, I've lived here for 25 years. I've never had planes flying over my house, ever. Now it's a daily occurrence, to the point that, a while back there was the thing where everybody was hearing the big sound or the big boom or whatever. Now I'm seeing these things where the chemtrails are not going, well, they are still going this way and that way, but there's some that are just going straight up from over by the military base. Well, what plane flies straight up?
A Harrier jet.
Some weird stuff.
Harrier jets fly straight up.
And would make leave a chemtrail behind?
It depends on if it's on purpose or what fuel they use. But the United States is the only, and I think Britain, but it would be shared technology that has good vertical lift planes. It's so much so that we're getting rid of them. We're not using them much anymore. But there's a very interesting thing about that, is that China, they're putting a ton of money into that. They really want to develop a vertical lift plane, and it's
for individual use, or
no, to kill America. But
but I mean for like mass transit kind of thing, or more for like a personal, like for military, for like 2 to 4 guys in it.
Just for military. But here's the big thing, is, like I said, we're phasing it out. Like we haven't been teaching new pilots to fly Harrier jets for like a decade or so. In fact, we're selling them to civilians now, to U.S. civilians. If you were a pilot like in the 60s and 80s or whatever, you can buy one, like for air shows or whatever. But that's the thing. China is hiring a lot of U.S. pilots, former Navy pilots, former Marine pilots, and former British pilots, and paying them to teach and instruct their military on how to fly these vertical lift jets to be used against us and Britain. So there's kind of a controversy right now as to whether or not that's treasonous or just capitalism. So it's interesting conversation. But let's get back to the Chinese thing. So here is, which I'll put a link below to this video. This guy's a great channel. He lived in China for like 10 years or so. Him and his buddy ADV China, who has another channel. But let's check this out.
Slipped through the cracks. Remember the weather balloon China? Then why, when I scour the Chinese internet, almost everything is gone? What are you trying to hide? China is scrubbing everything, but some very scary stuff slipped through the cracks. Remember the Chinese government was saying that this balloon was civilian and not military? Well, you guys gotta understand that there's nothing civilian in China. In fact, China adopted a policy called civilian military fusion, and everything has potential military use. But most importantly, I need you to remember this phrase for later on in this information: civilian military fusion. Keep this in mind as we reveal something potentially horrible here. Do you guys know Duke University? Well, a graduate student named Liu Ruopeng allegedly stole Duke research to create a billion-dollar Chinese company. He was suspected of spying while he was a Duke student and allegedly stole invisibility technology. In fact, the U.S. Naval Institute covered this in great detail. All sources are below in the description. That's not a good start, right? Well, what if I told you that this ex-Duke student is actually a CCP party member, as evidenced here? And what if I told you that his company then proceeded to make metamaterials to be used in stealth applications? And next, what if I told you that this company, Guangchi, is often referred to in Chinese media as a military civil fusion enterprise? Convenient, isn't it? The company is spearheading the establishment of Military Civil Fusion Innovation Center in Xiong'an New District, Baoding, Hebei Province. And its products are used in People's Liberation Army warplanes, naval systems, missiles, and anti-stealth radar systems. In fact, the company recently won a military contract to apply its metamaterials products on Chinese warships to enhance stealth capabilities. Now, what if I told you that this company developed a 40-meter diameter, 1-ton helium-filled balloon called Traveler, which soared twice as high as airliners can fly? This company took this balloon off from a Chinese-owned dairy farm in New Zealand in 2015. The launch into orbit of a Chinese near-space test flight from a New Zealand dairy farm was sealed in a deal between former Prime Minister Sir John Key of New Zealand and China's Xi Jinping in 2014. What if I told you that China was testing balloons to drop weapons payload delivery vehicles in 2018? They were bragging about it on state media, on CCTV. But they're all scrambling right now to delete any and all remnants of the story. Too bad the internet never forgets. Oh, China. I'll read you this quote. Let's see if your misdirection weather balloon story holds any gas, so to speak. China's People's Liberation Army plans to use high-altitude balloons to counter long-range U.S. drones for psychological warfare operations, in addition to intelligence gathering, a review of Chinese military and technical writings reveals. Beijing also reportedly test-fired a new hypersonic missile from a floating airship in 2018, highlighting the military's interest and multiple uses for lighter-than-air aircraft. Not only did China brag about being able to deploy psychological and very real material warfare via balloons, they shot down a foreign balloon in their propaganda before.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. They wouldn't do that to us.
So no matter what, you saw that they said to fly it over Montana. He didn't read that, but that was from the CCP. To fly it over Montana as part of psychological warfare, which I don't know, but seems to be a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah,
we are.
It's a big distraction. I mean, there's a lot of other things going on, in our economy, and like we said, the train thing, the water thing.
Very interesting. Like you bring up a 10-year-old article that talks about so many things that are coming, that have come to fruition in that time period, which also I guess is open to some interpretation if you look at
Mm-hmm.
the different force and the whole MAGA movement and all that. Um, but still, that was from 2018, talking about what they wanted to do: fly a balloon over Montana as a psychological warfare against the United States. And that's exactly what happened a couple weeks ago. It flew right over Montana, right over all of the bulk of our nuclear shit.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's, basically freaking out, saying, "Hey, that's a Chinese balloon."
Act of war.
Our
Yeah.
nuclear stuff. And you can argue about looking at it, but when you see those payloads that could drop from ultra high altitudes, that's not cool, man. Especially if that were to drop on a nuclear facility.
Or on a train full of toxic biochemicals.
Or on a nuclear power plant.
Mm-hmm.
That's like and I like nuclear energy, but it's super safe, but the the plants are not super safe when it comes to their environment.
To
Like,
being stable or
yeah,
whatever.
I don't think you can really have them in California. I don't think you can have them anywhere where there's like, you don't have to worry about them, I think, in like Tornado Alley where you live. But when it comes to like the earth shifting, like Fukushima and anywhere where there could be an earthquake, it's not safe. It's not safe to have them. It's just not. Unless you can build some kind of, way to put it inside of it, something else, to where that wouldn't affect it. But I don't know.
There's a whole family that does. I watched a documentary on whether nuclear safe, whatever. And there's this family that they swim in the water surrounding them to prove that they're safe.
Yeah, the
Very interesting.
Simpsons do that, but the fish have three eyes. Uh,
Craziness.
so
where are we? Where do we go from here? I mean, do we wait for China to invade Taiwan that they're threatening, or does America have something to say about them flying balloons over us? Is it an after the fact? Is it like, well, it's too late to do something about it now? You've taken them down. Now you're going to go pick a fight that's going to just kill a bunch of people and start a war. I guess not start a war. Does it matter who started it if everybody dies? Like, I don't see war always being the answer.
It matters.
Couldn't we do it with
in the
sanctions and do it, cause more harm, like you were saying, like put the hammer down with sanctions and business partners, trades,
isn't
all
that
that.
what Orange Man was doing years ago?
Yeah.
It was all under the guise of fair trade, but it would have.
It was also a power move.
It was a power move. We both know, everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows, and if you won't admit it, you're lying to yourself, that Putin would not have invaded Ukraine with Trump as president. If you hate him, I don't love Trump. I don't, but I think he was a good president. He brought peace to the freaking Middle East. Nobody cares. The Abraham Accords are like,
he's the most peaceful president ever.
Yeah, there was no wars. There was no wars under his tutelage.
Yeah.
So you can't argue with those. You can't argue because people just argue.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Putin would have invaded. I don't think the world would be in the shape that it's in. I definitely don't think China would have. They would have blown if it was a mistake, they would have blown it up before it got here. They wouldn't mess with us. I think something's coming. But I think China would have already invaded And this is a point that's been made that people aren't talking about. China doesn't care about international law. They don't care about the United States. They don't care about Britain.
Individuals' rights. Yeah.
But my point is, they would have attacked Taiwan and taken Taiwan if they thought they could.
Okay.
I don't think they can. I think they know they can't. Um, I think they know that they would try, and they would probably have another Russia Ukraine, where, and you've got to remember that like half of their attention, or more than half of their attention, probably like 70% of their attention and their effort is kept in keeping their own people in line
Right.
and keeping them from learning stuff and getting information. They
That's a
have
good point.
that's something that the U.S. we got like what 10% of our government's doing that. I mean, they're doing a good job of it. They're much better.
Well, I was going to say, do we? Because when we go to those weaponizing the government hearings, I mean, that's what they're doing with those big, Facebook.
Yeah, and I think a good part of that is, and we've been talking about this for years. They saw what China was doing,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Wow,
Copied
that's
it.
a really good idea. We can do that much more efficient."
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
everybody, get your Facebook account so we can monitor you and feed information to you, feed a narrative to you.
Yeah, it's so I think China would have, if they thought they could win it as easily as they could. They're pumping that to their people. We could walk in there and take it anytime we want. And until their people start saying, well, then why aren't we? You've been saying for 100 years that you're going to bring them back into the fold and make them, China. Why aren't you doing it? It's like, having some bullies like the head of the group, and he just talks about how tough he is, but he never does anything. He's like, I'm a black belt and 7 times of kung fu, and well, why don't you show us? It's like, well, I'm kind of tired right now.
Why do you let that guy keep stealing your lunch? Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like, no, he makes everyone else, take the guy's lunch. But I think something's coming. I think if they do attack Taiwan, that'll be it. It really is rough for me to say, but I don't want Ukraine to win. I don't, just for all these other reasons. Like, I want Ukraine to be free. I've loved Ukraine since, like, it's been a sore spot with me because of all the things that Stalin did to Ukraine, the genocide that he did. Ukraine is like, oh, and when Putin invaded, it was like broke my heart because I've always had such a soft spot for Ukraine.
A lot of people are saying that Putin is invading to actually clean up the corruption in Ukraine.
And I don't want BlackRock to get any money. I don't want BlackRock, since they got the contracts, to rebuild the country.
They're already set. Yeah, they already have the contracts.
The only way they're not going to make money off of this war is for Russia to freaking win. So I don't know. I think maybe if that's part of the peace process, is that
which then they'll be made whole. They were involved in FTX. I don't know how much they lost in FTX, but they were one of the accounts that was involved in FTX that was moving money around through that. So
yeah, Phil's making the point that I always said this from the beginning, and it was like it was controversial, but we had the same thing happen to us, and we threatened to destroy the world. Kennedy's like, hey man, I'm gonna kill my family. Well, his family would have been in a bunker, but I'm gonna kill your family. I'll kill all of my Americans' family. We're gonna go to nuclear war if you do it. And Russia back down. We could have just invaded Cuba like Russia invaded Ukraine. I don't know. I don't know if it would have been better if they said, hey man, if Ukraine joins NATO, that's it. We'll just we'll nuke Europe. screw it. Well, NATO's broken its word like 10 times since World War II. Since it was formed, it has lied and broken its word so many times. This is the last straw. If you accept them and they're part of NATO, we'll nuke every NATO country, and we'll go to war. We'll destroy the world. That's what we did. It's not like what we would do. We did that. We won. Russia backed down, and then you can argue whether they sent stuff in there.
Supposedly, yeah. And then we got NASA with all the scientists over here. So,
Yeah.
Did we really? Did we win? Who won?
Ukraine cabal, Taiwan, DNC, WF. Yeah, see, Daddy, I'm so tired of all this stuff. I'm so tired of everything. It's like, I want to reset. I want there to be aliens. I want them to come out. I want to fight or whatever. I want to clean up and let's get back to simple life, man,
Well, at least have the truth out there. Like, if you know the truth, you can handle, you at least know what you're dealing with. You can make decisions. It's all this behind the scenes and what's really happening and which narrative and, everything you've been told about your government, your whatever, your history is a lie.
Daddy O's got the point there. That's the truth. The banks are in trouble. Wars get rolling.
Yeah.
I do think Russia will win. It's like our Civil War. The South was beating the crap out of the North because they had bodies that they were just throwing. The North had much better technology, but they kept throwing bodies. And Russia had better technology, but now they have they're fighting the United. It's a proxy war. Everyone's admitted it's a proxy war. They have better technology in most cases. They have everything they need, but Russia has hundreds of thousands, millions of bodies that they'll just keep throwing at Ukraine. And we can give them money, and they can hire mercenaries, and they have a lot of Americans are over there fighting, but they can't keep throwing bodies. Russia will throw bodies at Ukraine until it wins. And that's it.
Interesting.
But I thought the thing about the Chinese guy from Duke stealing the technology.
Yeah, that was great information.
It is
and it makes it not so conspiracy too. I mean, people are always like, "Oh, there's not really invisibility things, whatever." No, there's technology that they're developing. Yeah, it sounds out of this world. It sounds spacey. It sounds conspiracy,
but sci-fi,
it's
man.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so many things when you look at Star Trek from the 60s. That flip phone, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Look at Star Trek Next Generation.
Well, another thing that
iPads,
another thing
computers.
that Jim Willie, I had the interview with him this weekend. It's on my Patreon. It's actually on my website, password protected for my Patreon. But you have to go to Patreon to get the password. Anyway, he was talking about through some of his military insiders that give him information that China's using drones. And when he says drones, he doesn't mean just like the little fly around things. He means like they almost look like human, like robot kind of thing.
That's a question that somebody asked that I thought was interesting. A journalist asked one of those generals, "Hey, we've had reports that because the thing was 3 buses long, it was massive. So they said, hey, we've had reports that there are a bunch of drones on this as like the landing pad, and that they're
were
able
on
to
the one that they shot down.
That they're able to leave that, go fly around, get stuff, and then come back. And the dude did freeze for a second, and he got all, we're not going to talk about that stuff and blah blah blah. But I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah, so Jim talked about that a little bit, which was interesting.
Speaking of sci-fi and Star Trek and technology, computer, tea, Earl Grey, hot. Are you going to look bad in front of everyone? Computer, tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Unable to comply. Replicators are offline.
Okay. Did you hear that?
Offline,
Yeah, the replicators.
but they exist.
From the Enterprise, they do. Okay. Yeah, because Captain Picard would ask for tea, Earl Grey hot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We do have a lot more in common with Russia. I think I am Frank. I don't know if you were here last week. I said I think that's the world's biggest fear is that the United States and China, or the United States and Russia, would ever become
Come
good
together.
allies and come together. Yeah. The last time it did anything close to that was the Revolutionary War, when Russia refused to help Britain and gave humanitarian aid to the colonists. Yeah, it's getting bad over there, but it's I think we're getting towards the end. Replicators are offline. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. What's weird is when I watch Star Trek, and then they keep talking, to the computer, and then my computer hears it, and I hear it in the other room. It's I can't do that. Stop asking me to do that stuff.
Your computer's having its own conversation with the TV. Wild things happening at Satoshi Sean's house.
Yeah. Yeah. Germany's almost took over the world 3 times now.
Well, remember what it took on 4th of July, that movie 4th of July, Tom. It took an alien invasion. It was Independence Day, yeah.
Yeah, Independence
Day. It took an alien invasion to bring the whole world together. And we finally realized we're all the human race.
Yeah, it was
when we were finally faced with something that wasn't.
Roland Emmerich did that. He directed that movie.
Here's an idea.
Roland Emmerich, he's a huge. I was in his first movie he ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How cool!
Yes, I got on his nerves so bad.
Imagine that.
Because I was 12 and I was, it was huge, right? I was when I was 12, I was 6 foot.
Yes, and
190 pounds, had a beard. So I was in this movie, and but I was 12, man. I was a kid. It was a movie. I was all excited, and I would just stare at the camera and stare at him, and he would be like, "Stop staring at me, boy!" What? And I'm at a funeral or something, and we're supposed to look somber, and then I just turn my head and keep looking at the camera and ruining the scene.
What movie was that?
Do
you remember what it's
called? Making Contact.
Making Contact.
It was. I don't know how it exists because Darth Vader is in it. E.T. is in it. There's so many IPs that he stole and put in that movie. This kid dies, and he has one of those little kid plastic phones he used to have on the street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's in the closet. Oh, Poltergeist! So much Poltergeist stuff. In the closet has the Poltergeist thing. He opens it and he talks to his dad on the phone. And then the Goonies, him and his friends, they go off on this adventure. I'm not making that up. It's all that happened. It steals from every movie.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I had a thought when you were saying that and Making Contact, all this, and that, and Tom's comment that the whole world will come together. But if it takes an outside force, well, there's all this noise about Chat GPT and all this and AI. Well, what if AI goes rogue?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the alien invasion, and the whole world has to come together to fight the rogue AI.
What if AI exposes the alien conspiracy?
Could it? I like my scenario better.
Yeah, but I mean, I was thinking about this last week. There's so many things now that are end of the world stuff. Like the AI is going crazy, World War III.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to just be Russia and the United States. Now Russia, China. Everything's escalated.
Yeah.
There's so many things.
Every possibility is.
They're this could be the end of the world. This could be the end of the world. Well, that could be the end of the world. Pandemics, diseases, zombies.
Yeah. We just need the crickets or whatever. Is that the next?
The locusts.
Locusts. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just waiting on locusts.
it's all right, man. That's why.
That's
That's
it. That
why.
would be a good meme for you to create for your meme show.
That's why Elon Musk is trying to get us to Mars, so we just leave it all behind.
And then you could eat bugs.
No,
Eat locusts.
there'll be locusts here. We'll eat Martians.
Oh God.
The funniest thing was you posted that thing about hearts on Mars.
Yes, I did. There's a somebody else posted it. I just shared it. But it was, let me find it. Hold on real quick. It's right at the beginning of my thing, right after the announcement that Dianne Feinstein is retiring. Praise God. This was, somebody shared this from,
This has always been something that could bring us to the screw everything up.
There's my hearts on Mars. Oh, you have to share it. I shared it.
Oh, there we go.
Those are the hearts that are on Mars.
Those are pretty hardy.
Yeah.
Hardy heart.
Cool. What are the odds of that? Never get old.
That we need a Chat GPT for. That we need something that would do odds. Like, what are the odds of random rocks hitting Mars and creating?
I can never get Chat GPT to work. It always says that my cookies are full or something like that, or I asked too many questions. I was like, I've never even used it.
I think it's flirting with you. Like, baby, your cookie's full.
I don't think that's a flirty.
Lee brought me on there, and it was like crazy what he was doing with it. I was like, man, I could see how this is going to put like a bajillion people out of work. See, Ted's been behind me the whole time.
Yeah.
He's been working on this video for like months, weeks. And like they like do scripts for each video and type everything out and do so much work. And I could do that now with ChatGPT. Like journalists, you just have to type in stuff, and then ChatGPT scours all the sources. It finds all the information, and it spits out a story. Journalists don't even need to exist. You don't even need to go and do research and stuff. I mean, unless you're going to do real research, like on foot, So it's pretty insane.
And then it goes rogue and takes over the world, and we all have to come together. So
yeah, right now. Ooh,
yeah.
me. Well, it was
Let's
good
do
hanging
it.
out with everyone. It
was great hanging out with everybody.
It's been a bad week for me.
No, I'm sorry.
My nephew passed away, so very sad, very bad.
Mm-hmm. Tragic loss.
Yes, I think we're gonna have a funeral for him. Maybe this weekend coming up.
Okay.
They're looking at cremation now, so and getting like urns for everybody. It's still very weird for me that he's gone. It's not as weird for. I mean, it's like my cousin and everyone. I don't think it's hit him yet. No one's broke down. I keep waiting for it because they're all real.
Well, I think they're in shock. It was
They're in shock, and then
so unexpected.
They're worried about, oh, we got to get this together. We have to do this.
Yeah, they're distracted with the things to do.
Yeah. I told told Autumn's fiance that it's like, dude, there's a time that's going to come soon when they're all going to have to stop, and when there's not so much busy work, and that's when they're going to like really need us because we're going to break down.
Yeah,
and it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I should put up a GoFundMe. Autumn did a GoFundMe for the funeral. Let me see if I can find it.
Put it in the description so if people are watching this later, they can.
Yeah.
Because this is Autumn that had the little boy that had all the medical problems this past summer that Sean was helping with and telling her story and the baby story. And he got out of the hospital and came home and he's doing really well. This is her brother that just passed away tragically and unexpectedly.
All right, put it in the regular chat. I'll send it to you, Lisa, in the private chat.
Thank you.
Which I can bring it up.
James O'Brien.
Yeah. Which they've got $1,400, but they're gonna have to buying the urns and stuff. It's expensive. I think the cremation was $4,000, which is a lot.
I was gonna say that's kind of high for a cremation, but I don't know. Maybe that's different in Texas.
I think it was like 3,500.
Mm.
Here we go. Autumn wrote this. I haven't actually read it or anything yet, but
I'm sorry for your family's loss. That's tragic. He was so young.
He was. He really loved Robert. He was really looked up to him. It was very sad. Very sad. Very sad. He was a sweet kid. He was. All right. Life is fleeting, Jim. It is.
Yeah. We will all be praying for your family for sure.
Thank you. It was very good hanging out with y'all. Love y'all. Appreciate you coming by. Please crush the like button. Make sure you leave a comment afterwards so you're registered to win crypto on the next crypto meme review. Yeah, tomorrow's family night. It's good hanging out with you, Lisa.
It's great to see you.
We don't talk as much as we used to. I didn't think you went to World Blockchain Roundtable last Thursday.
What do you mean?
You told me you didn't go to the show because you had so much to do. So I felt really bad because I didn't make it.
I think I went last week. I think I didn't go the week before.
You did make it last week, and then I said, "Oh man."
The week before I didn't.
I said, "How was it?" And you said, "No World Blockchain Roundtable. I had 3 meetings." So I was like, "Oh crap! I didn't show up, and Lisa didn't show up. That's messed up." But then I watched it. And you were there, so.
I think you misunderstood me, or I misunderstood you.
Or you could be wrong. Imagine that.
Could be.
Yeah.
I might have said no.
But you were there, so I didn't feel as bad.
I might have been answering a question and then stated another. And then World Blockchain Roundtable and 3 meetings on Thursday. Because my Thursdays start with World Blockchain Roundtable and then go into, and then I have back-to-back meetings till about 6 or 5, at least 5 at night.
I'm also have it host a Twitter space on Fridays that Lisa doesn't like to come to for some reason. I don't know. I
didn't get the invite till it was over.
Okay.
And text me. I don't see stuff on Twitter.
Okay.
If it's happening live, text me. You have my phone number and say, "Hey, I'm in a Spaces live. Come over here," and then I could turn my phone on and join you. Especially last weekend, I could have because I didn't have Canon.
Well, that would have been cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, love y'all. Remember, crush the like button. I will see you guys later.
Bye.
What will we leave you with? Oh, this horrifying. No, I'll leave you. This one is fun. This is nice. I made this. Hope you like it.